Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action from Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We will review the theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. Tonight we are reviewing, streaming now on Netflix, The Christmas Chronicles 2. Yes. All right, I am your host, Doc Rodden, and joining me tonight is podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa Thompson. How you doing?
Hey, doing good. Very much in the holiday spirit.
All right, you got the snowflakes and the hat. You got it rocking.
Yes,
so
that's what this movie does to you. Puts you in the spirit.
You know, and does 2020 need this? Maybe.
Yeah, we need all the good times.
Yes. Also joining us tonight is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore.
I'm so happy to be here to talk about the Chris Moore Chronicles.
The Chris Moore Chronicles.
Oh, wait a minute. Christmas Chronicles. Sorry. I thought we were going to talk about me.
Chris Moore Chronicles.
Well, I'm sure we'll find
that would be the most boring movie ever.
I don't know about that.
It would just me eating Taco Bell while I'm watching Netflix. That would be the whole movie series.
No way.
Guest starring. I'm
going to start an OnlyFans where it's just me watching movies, eating Taco Bell,
eating tacos. Oh no.
No, I'm looking forward. I want to see the Chris Moore memoirs, the blockbuster nights.
I do have some stories when I worked at Blockbuster. Maybe I should do that one day.
That would sell, Chris.
With a K. With a K. He'll be nice with a K.
Yeah. I think they called that show Everyone Hates Chris. I think they already made that show.
Yes, everybody. No. That's it. Good night. All right, what we're going to do tonight, we're going to review this movie. We're going to give our first impressions of Christmas Chronicles 2. Then we're going to talk about the film for a little bit, and then we're going to give our final thoughts, our score, and our favorite scene. You want to stick around for that. But let's find out about the movie first. This, of course, is a sequel to Christmas Chronicles that came out 2 years ago on Netflix and was a delightful surprise that Thanksgiving. And it ended on a tease with Goldie Hawn showing up as Mrs. Claus, which was a terrific ending to a very fun movie. The sequel is out this year, so Thanksgiving yet again, November 25th, 2020 on Netflix. And it brings back Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell as the Clauses. And you know what? Could it be a more perfect Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I'll get to it. I'll get to that. But Kate Pierce is back. She's a cynical teen now, and she is unexpectedly reunited, English is hard, with Santa Claus when a mysterious troublemaker threatens to cancel Christmas forever. This is directed by Chris Columbus. Yes, written by Matt Lieberman and Chris Columbus. The cast includes Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, Darby Camp, J.Z. Bruno, Julian Dennison, Judah Lewis, Kimberly Williams Paisley, and Tyrese Gibson as well. Yes. So what we need to do now is give our first impressions. And Chris, since you're at the top right, you get to go first, sir. What was your first impression of Christmas Chronicles 2?
You know what? I love the first one a lot. The first one, excuse me, the first one felt like some of those early John Hughes things. It felt like what was it? What was the babysitter movie?
Adventures of Babysitting?
Adventures of Babysitting. It felt a little bit like that a little bit. It felt like a lot of those early John Hughes stuff. And so it was just fun seeing him out of his element, the Santa Claus character out of his element. Plus, I think Kurt Russell, to me, is the perfect Santa Claus because he's not like some fat, jolly guy or whatever. He's a badass, and Kurt Russell is pretty much a badass in most things he plays. So, just seeing this sort of Santa Claus who who loves danger,
Hey.
who's like an action hero. To me, that's much different because I think a lot of these movies, it always ends up being like the kids having to save or this person having to save this, and so I loved it. The second one, I think it has some of those elements, but it doesn't feel. I don't think it's as good as the first. I think it's enjoyable. It made me cry twice, so it's definitely got the emotional element of it. But something seemed a little bit off, and I think for me, because for us that are do stuff for Hard News Radio, when we review horror films, we always talk about the villains. We always talk about how once you give like the background and how this person is, and you take away the magic of everything, it kind of loses some of the specialness of it. And I think that that's what they kind of do in this film, where they sort of give much more explanation, and they give this sort of quasi has kind of religious elements, but not, but then the magic elements, and they explain so much to where I don't really care about that. I care more. I would be happier just being thrust into the situation, having all these magical elements, maybe explaining, okay, this magic does this or that, and that's fine. But I think all the background stuff kind of took me out of it, where I wasn't really interested in that. I just want to see them experiencing the North Pole, experiencing all these things, and having to deal with having to save Christmas, or save Santa Claus, or save the Star of Bethlehem, or whatever. I'd rather see that. And I think for some reason that kind of took it out. I mean, granted, it's great to see Kurt Russell and his wife
Goldie Hawn
playing. I've always been a big fan of Goldie Hawn. I'm one of those people that had a crush on her when she was in Private Benjamin and all these films growing up, or when she was acting with like
Chevy Chase
and some of his films and stuff. That was a great pairing.
No Laughing Love. Oh, come on. Is that before you?
Well, I have seen her laughing too. I've always had a little bit of a crush on her. So it's kind of great to see them because they seem like the perfect couple. And he's a producer on the film, so I'm sure it's like we're gonna make sure she has a bigger part in this one. And it's great to see her, holding a weight and having magic and doing all these things as well. So it's kind of great to see that. The villain aspect of it is a little bit off and weird, how they kind of explain that. But it's still got some really great action moments. I think I don't know. I feel like the chemistry of the family is a little bit off this time around. It was much more believable in the first. But I think the moments with the young girl are great, especially when it's dealing with her dead father and stuff, and those elements. Those are the parts that really made me cry twice, and it made me mad. I was crying because I was like, I thought this was just these films are kind of fun, and when they hit you right in the heart, for me, they just hit it right. Even though I knew where it was going, I predicted basically everything that was sort of going to happen in parts. I did like the arc of the young boy, the son of Tyrese's character. I did like that sort of anxious little boy who's got to gain courage and stuff. I love that aspect of it. So yeah, I mean, it's it's kind of, I don't know. I loved how, and then almost it felt like kind of forced the whole musical moment because
the first one was
because
so
it
awesome.
worked so well in the first one, and then it just felt kind of shoehorned in the second time. Even though it was kind of, I didn't hate it, but it just felt like, okay, it worked so well the first time, so we got to have Kurt Russell sing again. Although he's more like, speak singing, in parts. So I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think the ending is it has that sort of happiness that we want to see in the world. And I think it's, I'd rather watch this, with everything that's going on in the world. I think seeing something that's positive and fun and is all about embracing the people in your life, those family members that, you care about. And and just being happy and realizing at some point you have to move forward in life and not be so bogged down with the past, but try to look towards the future. And I love that aspect of it. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a perfect sequel. I don't think it's definitely nowhere as endearing as the first, which I loved a lot, but I still enjoyed it. And then there's moments it almost turns into Gremlins with the elves.
Yes.
Which I thought is kind of funny, with not to give anything away, but when they go crazy and they change the movie theater from showing Elf to Bad Santa. I found that to be funny. Although there also seems to be a little bit of product placement in this as well, whether it's Nerf guns or travel services, or there's a little bit of everything. But anyway, I enjoyed it. I just don't think it's not as good as the first, in my opinion.
Not as good as first. All right, Vanessa, you're up next. What is your first impression of Christmas Chronicles 2?
Well, I'm going to jump on what you said, and I really do think that Kirk Douglas and
Yes.
that would be a different movie. No, and greed is good. All the toys. No, no. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn were absolutely made to play Mr. and Mrs. Claus. They're just so endearing as this couple, and I really think Goldie Hawn just her light just shined so brightly as Mrs. Claus. She was so sweet, so endearing. I just wanted her to read me bedtime stories every night. I need that in my life. I do agree. It doesn't have the same kind of heart as the first movie. It feels a little bit more. The other movie had some grittiness to it and some aspects of reality to it that I think this one puts to the side to be more whimsical and fun and magical, but that kind of gives it more of a Hallmark movie feel.
Interesting, yeah.
To it, yeah, as opposed to the first one. But it's still a really fun movie, and it's really wholesome and sweet, and it's got some really great messages in it. I really like the idea that no matter how naughty you are, as long as there are people there that still love you, you can make amends for what you've done in your life and move on and move forward and still continue to go. And I think that's an important message, especially for young people. And to what you said, Chris, about Jack's kind of story arc, it's really nice because they did a really good job of making him annoying and kind of baby the whole time. And that makes his moment to shine and gain his legs even that much more touching. And I will say it's very, very difficult to follow up a really awesome Elvis Christmas song with kind of a not so awesome original.
Yeah, that might be true.
Yeah, that was like a little bit, but the little elves maybe make up for that because they're super cute and super feisty and just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like the elves quite a bit too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was a huge fan of the first one. It surprised me. I just thought it was a ridiculous thing, before I saw it. But once I saw it, I was like, I just fell for it, and it's one of my favorite, non-horror films of that year. I just had a great time with it. When and it ended with Goldie Hawn kind of showing up as Mrs. Claus, and that was just like when you see her walking in, you're like, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? And then they do, and you go, yeah, they did it. So having those two come back together in this one and giving her a chance to co-star along with Kurt, and they, their movies that they did together, Overboard, and some of those are fantastic films, and they do have an on-screen chemistry as well as an obvious real life chemistry. If you've ever seen them in an interview, they're cute as could be. And it translates on screen, and he just looks the part because he's still, they still bulk him up, in a Santa way, but yet without the big jolly belly, but yet he still feels like a Santa, right? He doesn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger as Santa. He looks like, it just fits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, he's got the big beard, and he just has, the grin still makes it through all the hair somehow. I don't know how. I love it. I literally just want one of these every 2 years. I don't care how good or bad it is. Just keep doing them. I want them. I'll watch them all. Give me more Kurt Russell Santa. He, for as long as they can do it. Is this as good as the first one? No. And there's a lot of really strong reasons why. The first one really had a family core to it that this one misses. Their father had passed away, and they were missing it, and the two children were struggling with dealing that, and especially with Christmas. So she was still a believer in Santa, and he wasn't. So they had that conflict, and they weren't getting along, and all this other stuff. So there was just this huge drama with them and conflicts emotionally that really drew you in. And if you took away all the Santa stuff and you just had that story, it still would be a great story.
Mm-hmm.
So the Santa stuff was just icing on the cake, and it was the best. If you really had a good cake with really good icings, to steal some of Christopher's food metaphors, that's what that was. This is still a cake with icing, but maybe some of the flavor's not there, and that's because it doesn't have that core to it. It has, Vanessa, you mentioned that, like the forgiveness part of it, right? That's the love and forgiveness. It doesn't matter with our character, the Bell Snickle character. Julian Dennison, I was trying to remember where I saw him.
Ooh,
in Deadpool 2. He's the main boy, and I was like, where did I see him? I know I've seen him. He's fine here as a bad guy. It doesn't really. I mean, it's not as strong as you want it to be, or they want it to be, but it suffices. It moves the story along. It works in context. But like you said, that moral of his story arc is what's more important than what they're trying to do. Bad guy, it's not good versus evil, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And each of our other two characters, they have their own thing, the strength, the self-confidence. And then of course, I'm not really sure what the girl's going through. I mean, she's kind of having a little bit of doubt syndrome, but it isn't really clear what's going on. And I think my point is, as much as I'm babbling about it, is I think this movie babbles a little bit with it too, right? It's trying to say a little too much. And if all three of these characters had conflicts that were a little bit more similar to reinforce each other, to maybe even draw the three of them together somehow, I think we could have related to it a lot more. It missed that, but at the same time, what it does bring, it brings in an incredible way. The Santa elements, the spirit of Christmas, spirit of the holidays, if you like, the fantasy of it. It plays some weird, touchy feely, maybe in and out, maybe we are, maybe we aren't, with the religious elements, I guess you could say, right? It kind of goes there, but doesn't, because we have the Star of Bethlehem, but how do you have that without the rest of it? I don't know,
and that kind of sat weird with me too. I wish they would have kept it just more pagan. I think that would have been more whimsical and magical, and kept it more in an ethereal kind of.
Yeah, Christmas Star is a Christmas star. Do you really need the?
Yeah, and it just seemed like very forced. Like you're force feeding me the Christian Christmas story, when before this felt very open to everything. Like in the first one, it feels very like non-religious in a way, right? Mm-hmm. To a certain extent,
a little bit more commercial, which usually is a bad thing, but in this case,
and it just struck me as a little odd, because they didn't really go one way or the other with it, right? It was very like a mild way of fitting it in there, but which made it feel even a little more out of place.
Mhm.
I don't know. That is something that struck me as like I just wish they hadn't done that. You know, why can't Santa just be magical? The magic of Christmas and belief and faith in Santa and all that.
Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's all you need. That's all she needed too.
Yeah, it's just weird when you're combining like furry elves.
Right.
When you talk about the Bethlehem Star, him like an old flashback of him in Turkey with it felt kind of weird. I don't know. It felt kind of weird. Not that I mean, I have a Christian background, and so I believe in that stuff as well. But I think when you start mixing it, it gets kind of a weird level to where it kind of like it can sometimes take people out of it when you do that. You know, you almost like you put a spotlight on it. Like, what are you trying to?
Yeah, you
here.
You either have to commit to it, or you
commit for one.
You stick to the commercial end of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's the Star of Bethlehem, right? But they never once say Jesus. They never once say God or anything like that. So, and that makes it kind of like weird too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because you don't know where to place it, right? I mean, it is
not to discount anyone's religion or anything, especially during this time of the year, but just in the context of this film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a Christmas Chronicle. It's the Christmas Chronicle. So it's more about the holiday. Santa has become. Oh, it's just this weird thing. But anyway, that aside, though, what they do, because they do establish the North Pole as this very, almost, our little elves are more like fairy elves, right? They're not the ones that are in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? Not that kind of elves. These are more the fairy kind of elves. Although they're cute, they're made very cute so they could be commercialized even further. But they work, and it's inventive, because they have the Aurora Borealis thing that protects them, and they have to like create their own snow by using these cannons, and that's a cute idea, and they use it to make the story work as well. Which they could have done 100 different other ways, but having that makes it interesting because of it happens in the middle of the night. What are the cannons going off for, right? And it's just there's this fun stuff, but I just don't think it. What it lacked was that deep down that heart. It's not heartless, but it doesn't have that strong emotional core. Except
it's a little generic, kind of.
Yeah, except when they do take it back to when they go back in the past. And
that airport scene
had
me at tears. Yes. Even though I knew right away where they were going with it, but it still was very emotional. And that acting of that young girl, you could feel how she was feeling, and to me that was like, this is breaking my heart. And
that's what the rest of the movie missed, right? When they got to that, they got back to the core of this character and her story, but it really didn't play outside of that element. It really didn't play. It was more like, Santa knew he needed to do it all along, supposedly, right? Wink, wink. But it, that was only 10, 15 minutes of the movie, and the rest of the time it didn't really play that big a role. So it was great when it happened, but in context of the larger picture, it was kind of misplaced, even though it was very effective.
Although I think the one thing that was kind of jarring for me, which I really wish they would address in these type of movies, is that, why can't the elves make like Cyberpunk 2077? Why can't they make things that kids would actually ask for Christmas? You know what I mean? They always like are making, they're making video games now, and they're like general video games that don't exist. I mean, kids are going to be asking.
That is so nitpicky.
I know. It's like, have
this is Ready Player One. This is
having them make Baby Yoda, or I feel like they should show them making stuff that are actually available. That would be a good way for them to have name brands thrown in there. You know what I mean?
They made
that always bothers me, because it's like, what are they going to send a Lego statue to people?
They make candy canes. People still use Legos. Oh, Chris,
the candy cane thing is.
But,
I mean, Don't judge me.
I'm judging that.
To me, that's more crazy than the Bethlehem Star. Is like, why can't they make like Star Wars Battlefront 2? It's like make stuff that kids want, because I don't see any of that stuff that kids would even reckon. I don't know. I'll just shut up. I'm a Grinch. I'm sorry.
Grinch. All right. With that, we should wrap this up, give our final thoughts, our score, and our favorite scene. But before we do, we want to invite you to subscribe down below so more people can find us. Yay! Hit the like button. Hit the dislike button if you're feeling Scroogey. That's fine.
Just do it. Scrooge.
Don't be a Scrooge. Hit the like button. And give us some comments down below. We'd love to hear what you think of this film or other Christmas films. I want to know if you want to see a third one. I know I do.
Yeah, eat a snowman cookie and get some courage and tell us what you think.
We need Frosty to join the crew. Is what we need.
Ooh, or Rudolph.
Speaking to that, when one of them, I forget which one. One of them gets Dasher. Does not. Dasher, yeah, one of them. I don't know.
It's Dancer, isn't it?
Who knows? But one of them is hurt and stays back, and they have to go off with the rest of them. Where was Rudolph? Rudolph would have been a perfect one. But,
that's what I thought.
But I think Rudolph's licensed.
You know where I want this to go?
No,
I think they should. I think her mom, they have to get married. They're going to get married, and they invite Santa Claus to the wedding. And so that you have Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus showing up, and some kind of thing happens that they have to help with, and it's
hilarity ensues.
Yeah, and it's a Christmas wedding.
There you go.
So
he's got to be there for the wedding, and then he's got to deliver presents. So
yeah, but what does he do? What does he do? All right, let's do our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. Christopher, you're up first. Go for it. Give us the skinny.
Yeah, Christmas Chronicles, another journey to the North Pole. That's it's fun, but it's off and on with how connected the first film was when it came to the family unit. They kind of separate people out, and you have those moments of connection or heart, but they're variable in how they show up. And I'm not sure if the villain thing really works as well as what they hoped. But I think it's great. It's great to see Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus sort of given some equal time with things, and of course, anytime we get to see Kurt Russell again as Santa Claus, I think he just makes one of the best Santa Clauses ever. It's just his enthusiasm as that character. Even moments where I loved it when they kept pointing out like, oh, it's Mrs. Santa Claus's their workshop or whatever, and he's like, oh, yeah. You can see he's bothered by it. He's trying to hold it in, and just the way Kurt Russell does that, I think he's one of the most underrated actors out there. He's really an amazing actor, and I think just how he can sort of have this sort of bravado as this character, has his strength as his character, has humor as this character, and also has heart as that character. I mean, that part where he sees like Mrs. Santa Claus reading, and he like kind of has that little bit of a wink, or how would you see how he winks? It's like, and I want that hair when I get old. That sort of
don't we all?
That wavy Kurt Russell hair.
Yeah.
So yeah,
wig.
It's another, is it a wig? Have you seen his hair?
I don't know, but
he's got some good hair in real life. Well, I want that wig if that's the case. So it's a fun ride, but a rocky ride at times. But it's still a fun ride. Nonetheless, it's entertaining, a lot of entertaining parts, and has really some really great heart. And I think two scenes, especially the end scene, it just kind of makes you kind of happy. It makes you wish that everybody would just take a moment to sing together in unison. And also, did you know that the airport scene with the singing, the woman that's singing, her name is Darlene Love. She was in a group called Blossoms, which were a backup singer for what singer?
Elvis Presley.
Presley. So we get a little bit of a tie in that from the first film. The song doesn't work as well, but it's still kind of a fun thing when everybody's dancing around and being happy and stuff. So, as for rating, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it can't hold a Star of Bethlehem to the first film. But it's still a fun film. It's still something I'd rather watch than most Christmas movies. Although I do want to point out, I saw Holiday recently, and I love that film.
That one suckered me in too.
I
like that.
Enjoy that movie. Made me laugh so much. So if you want to see that has elements of holidays in it, go watch it. As for favorite scene, Christmas Chronicles. I mean, I'll have to say the moment when they're in the airport and she has that person she meets, which kind of reminds me of Ferris Bueller, when Ferris Bueller's sister's in the principal's office or whatever, and she's standing over from other guy,
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah,
oh
yeah. That reminded me of that. So it's like, oh, that's another John Hughes type moment we got going on there.
Oh, you're right.
So I'll say that specific scene when she has that, without being spoilery, when she has that revelation. Oh, it's like, is he? I'm getting teary just thinking about it. It's a really powerful emotional scene that even if the whole film doesn't have that element of heart, that one moment has that Christmas heart magic that makes it worthwhile.
Makes everybody a true believer.
There you go.
Uh-huh.
All right, Vanessa, what's your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene? Christmas Chronicles 2.
This is a cute movie. It may not exactly live up to the first one, but it's still, good enough to bear the name Christmas Chronicles. We reviewed the Lego Holiday Star Wars special.
Yes.
That this is a great movie just to have on in the background while you have people over, or while you have stuff going on. And this kind of feels like that movie too. That kind of movie too, that you have it on and it's a good atmosphere and it's Christmas time and the elves are cute. You don't have to commit too much to it while you have it on. And that's not bad, I really just love Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. I love their look. It's such a great look that they have. They pull from that sort of old Norwegian kind of Santa feel, and the language that the elves speak and all that. I really, really like that aspect of the story that they're telling. I think a 4 is a good score for this, because I definitely would give the first one a 5. So I think this one would be a 4. I would absolutely look forward to a third one. I would gladly watch a third one. Our same cast and everything. And my favorite scene, what's my favorite scene? Honestly, there's a lot of really cute, fun things, but the one that sticks out in my head is one you mentioned earlier, Chris, where they're talking about, if Mrs. Claus did this and she did that, why isn't it called, Mrs. Claus Village? And he's like, well, you know what? It's been called Santa's Village for a long time. I don't see why we can't change it. And then later on, they refer to it as Mrs. Claus's Village. It's like, yeah. It's so funny and real and topical too, actually, when you think about it. They slip that in there.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, I'll keep this quick. I absolutely love this movie. It doesn't live up to the first one, but it doesn't necessarily have to. I mean, the first one was a huge surprise for me, and this one just keeps the ball rolling. I definitely think it connects when it needs to, like Christopher said, but that there's at least 2 scenes, if not a few more, that really do do connect, and the airport scene's one, and the ending scene with the singing the carols is as well, especially the particular carol that we're talking about. I just they split up the brother and the sister in this one, so spoilers, and I think that does a little bit of disservice. I mean, they make up for it as best they can with Jack, the new character, but that dynamic I think was that they had in the first one was pretty special, and that part's missing a little bit. The bad guy is fine. He's there to propel the story, and he does his job. He's silly, he's funny, and there's a nice resolution to his arc with the clauses. But the star of the show is Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. They are just marvelous, and because of them alone, I want as many of these movies as they'll possibly crank out. If it comes every year or every 2 years, I will be happy. I will watch this. I will make time. They are perfect, and I love it. I'm going to give this. I'll give this. I was going to give it 3.75, but Vanessa talked me into a 4 as well. Because you're right. You're right. It's this year sucks, and this movie, makes you laugh and smile and have a heart. So, yay. We need it now. My favorite scene is one that we talked about in the pre-show. And it just really, I laughed so hard, but I found that I was alone in this, and it's shocking, but we can just talk about that for a little bit. At one point, the relationship between Jack and Mrs. Santa, Mrs. Claus, is pretty special. And she's pretty much, guiding him to grow out of his fears, right, and to gain confidence, self-confidence. And when she tells him to go out into the cold, she's talking about his fingers. You might freeze off, but that's okay. She can sew them back on. And he gives this look to the camera and it's the only time. It's the only time they do it.
They did it one other time.
They did one other time.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the one time I noticed. We'll talk about the other time. And I just laughed. It, because I love talk about Hughes, right? Ferris Bueller did it marvelously well, and I love that element, and they brought that into it as well. I like it when it's used sparingly. I mean, I've seen some movies that do it a little too much recently, but this one does it one, maybe 2 times, and for me it worked. And I don't know. At that moment, I felt, like that's what I would do. What? Whether it's looking at the camera or not, it's irrelevant. But I did enjoy that. What was the other time?
It was in the beginning. Our bad guy, he's giving some kind of talk, and he looks right at the camera.
Yeah, when he talks, when the guy brings him the tape, and
the little elf guy,
and then at the end when he says what he's going to do, he looks at the camera and smiles, and I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, I missed that. I must have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it if it's part of how the movie operates, but there has to be a reasoning behind it usually, and usually it's because the main character is the narrator. If it's like Ferris Bueller, or it's like Deadpool, or there's a fourth wall narrative going on. But when it's not, and it's just out of the blue.
I don't know. Every time Burt Reynolds looks at the camera and laughs, I grew up with that. Like Smokey and the Bandit, he stops and looks at the camera and laughs. There's no reason for him to do it, but I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Well, that's more of a straight out comedy that doesn't really.
This is a comedy.
Yeah,
it's different. It's different. I mean, it's called spiking the camera. Normally,
that's what's called spiking the camera.
If an actor looks at the camera, unless it's something like Silence of the Lambs, where the camera is supposed to be on you, the other person in the conversation, so they're looking at, or if it's like Hannibal Lecter looking at you.
Right. In this case, they're recognizing us as the audience.
Yeah, but to me, it's like a lot of times you use it if a film is like overly, almost like it's parody to some degree.
Smoking the Bandit wasn't parody. I don't know, Chris.
Smoking the Bandit was totally ridiculous. It doesn't make. Yeah, it's just a bunch of drunk people making a film. There's
Look where we've gone from Christmas Chronicles to Smokey and the Bandit.
now if we had Kurt Russell
If he'd have done it, yeah.
and it is like Santa and the Bandit.
I forgot to
I'd do Smokey and the Santa too. That would be hilarious.
Smokey and the Santa. I forgot to mention earlier, Darlene Love, best known this time of year for Baby Please Come Home. Christmas, Baby Please Come Home.
Oh, that's right.
Christmas. Yeah, that's the one you hear of her predominantly this time of year.
Why didn't they do that on this one?
Oh yeah. Who knows?
They probably couldn't
Probably
get the license.
rights.
Yeah, they couldn't get the license for it. Well, she was Murtaugh's wife too, in Lethal Weapons.
Oh God, really?
I didn't realize that.
I need to go back and watch those.
Yeah.
Interesting. Hmm.
How interesting. All right. Well, that's our review for Christmas Chronicles 2 on Heroes and Droids. I hope you enjoyed us taking a little Christmas break from Mandalorian. We'll get back to that on our next episode. And this past week, we just also got a lot of news from Disney. We might be talking about that soon, too.
A lot.
We are going to be jumping into, I think, a long string of Marvel shows starting in January, and then I think they're almost back to back, if I heard them right. We're going to go almost, maybe a small break, but straight from WandaVision into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then into Loki, right?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
And Santa was nice to us this year.
It was. All right. With that, Christopher, Vanessa, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so much fun.
So much fun. Minus the spike in the camera.
I like this. It's my favorite thing. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
I like that. Good night.